Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. And welcome to the Infinite Way, where spirituality meets humanity. And it brings me great pleasure to introduce our guest today. Her name is Lei Mohr. Although Lei Mohr has had non physical experiences throughout her life, her NDE started when she was 21 after the birth of her second child. Her experiences culminated in a healing of the childhood trauma from and a shared death experience with her mother, who had been in prison for 15 years after the murder of Leigh's former sister in law. She sees her 3 NDE and her SDE as a single event along her timeline. Leigh now uses what she gained from the experience to guide people through their difficult life experiences to live their best life. She is an author of several books, including There Was No Fear, which further explores these experiences. I welcome Lei Mohr. Welcome, Lei.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
It's an honor to have you. We're so excited to have you here. There's so much to deep dive into. And really, what I would love to do is I would love to open up with the fact that you had this experience. Did that bring forward more the spiritual aspect that you embrace now? Or were you at a foundation that before this trauma happened in your life, that you basically were on a path that just allowed you to be able to handle the trauma?
That's an interesting question. And the answer is yes to all of the above. It is, I came from an extremely strict Catholic father who made sure that we all knew that if you get anywhere near anything outside of the box, that you're going to hell. And I was very frightened of this because my early years were very traumatic with a mother who had had 6 kids in 7.5 years, starting when she was 16, and was extremely overwhelmed, frustrated, and angry. And I thought, if and to the rest of the world, it looked like we had the perfect family. And I thought, if this is perfect love, and if I bring anything like that out, and I'm going to hell, which is worse than this, I want nothing to do with it.
Right.
And so I pushed it down and hid it for many decades, even after the first NDE, which was actually the door opening of, hey, by the way, there is another way of life and there is another life for you.
So bring us through the journey of the NDE, the first NDE and the first traumatic experience that took place.
Okay, it was as you said, after the birth of my second son. The pregnancy had been, he was active, but there was nothing unusual about it. But when I was in labor, he kept turning flip-flops inside of me. And in order for the medical people, whom I give absolutely no fault to at all for what happened afterward, they were working under very tense circumstances. They had to physically reach up inside of me and turn him around several times as I was in labor. And it was so traumatic that my fingernails were digging into the wall behind me trying to get out of the pain. So the birth itself was, or the birthing process was traumatic. But he came out all right, no cords around his neck. Everything was okay. But a couple days
Wow.
after he was born, I came down with an extremely high fever. It was 111 Fahrenheit, which is 44 degrees Celsius. And I was in the hospital. And so I was just sitting in the hospital on the bed, not doing anything, because at that point in time, when you're in that state, you don't do much of anything. And then without having any thought or any thinking at all about anything, because I wasn't doing that, I felt myself sit up in the bed. And then I looked behind me, and there on the bed was my body. There was no thought, there was no emotion, there was nothing at all, just a noticing of, oh, there's my body. And then I floated out of my body and into a very dark tunnel, just black. I mean, pitch black, blacker than anything that can be imagined. There was nothing there at all that could be seen or perceived. But it was extremely warm. It was loving, loving, like unconditional loving, like I'd never felt before, blissful, completely without judgment. It was just the most beautiful place to be. And I thought, wow, I like this. I think I could stay here. And I'm moving through this tunnel, and I get to what I perceived as a widening. Again, it's still black and black. I mean, it's just pitch black, but it still has the same feel. And I'm like, okay, I can still do this. And as I'm sitting there, well, I'm there. I'm not sitting, I'm just there. And I'm kind of trying to perceive what's going on. A voice spoke to me. And I perceived it as male, but it was the most gentle, kind, loving, soft voice I could imagine. And he asked, do you want to come now? I instantly knew I was being asked to make a choice and what that choice was. And for just a second, just a brief nanosecond, I panicked. And I said, I can't. I have 2 children to raise. And at that point, I perceived the nodding of a head. I didn't see it because there was nothing to see, but I perceived a nodding of a head, complete acceptance of my choice. And I zipped back down the tunnel, plopped back in my body, and the fever broke, and I was out of the hospital the next day. But I came back knowing that I was empowered. I had a reason to be here. I had a purpose in being here, and that what I did mattered. I knew that I belonged here.
You know, it's first of all, I'm so glad you made it. It's amazing that you had the experience and in going in the tunnel and then making the choice and realizing that what you chose was going to make a difference. That if you had chose not to come back, you know, that what you were saying, because a lot of times we have these experiences and we don't realize that what we choose holds. That's it. And, you know, I have to admit, when I was 12, I almost drowned. And when I almost drowned, when you talked about hearing that voice, I almost drowned to the point where I heard that voice, but it was me asking the voice, okay, are you going to take me now? Is this it? Because I have seconds before a lung full of water is going to fulfill and it's over. Like I can't hold out anymore. But then what happened was that the waves washed me ashore. And that answered my question. So it didn't go to that degree. But I never forgot that moment of darkness, that moment of just complete peace, complete, like, that's it. And that moment of surrendering. It was a surrendering. And you can't explain it to anyone. How did that change you? How did that
Well,
change you when you came?
because I was then empowered, I realized that I had my own power, which didn't set well with my then husband, who thought that I should be controlled. And so that marriage didn't last very long. And it was, and I moved on. I mean, there was not really a choice in this matter. It wasn't serving, and it needed to change. And so it did. And that began, that is actually where things started for me. But again, for decades after that, I hid it. I told nobody. Now this is back in, like, 1980s, before we had the internet, before we had cell phones, before we had, I mean, you didn't find information about this easily. There were probably books out there, but you really had to search for it. And I wasn't searching for it. I was trying to live the way that I was told I'm supposed to live, inside the boxes. I hadn't yet learned how to break the boxes, which is crucial in these times right now. Um, but I would learn, and I would learn how to become the person I came here to be, which was so much more than the person I had been before that.
So my question to you is that you emphasize that you now knew that you were empowered. Was that the difference? Like beforehand, before this trauma happened, and beforehand, that you weren't executing your own empowerment as much as when you came back? And what actually took place that let you realize that you had this gift, that you had this knowing of exactly what needed to take place?
I'm not sure I actually understood all of the gifts that I had, but I before the events, I had been under an extremely difficult mother for, my first 21, or at least 18 years. And I didn't actually get past that. I hadn't healed from that yet. But that first event was the opening of the door of to move to the point where I could actually heal all of that. So it was very much the starting point, even though I didn't realize it, even though I tried to hide it, even though I knew nothing about, I mean, near death experience, that wasn't even a term. How
Right,
how am I supposed to process this event when I don't even know what it is?
right.
But I did know that, um, I did have a personal power at that point, that I could make choices for myself, as well as and I needed to, for me and my two children. And
Right.
so that was the empowerment, was self-possession, I guess you would say.
Mhm. So my question to you is, take us through the story. So at this time, you said that your mother was in prison. All of these things started unraveling. Help us navigate through your story.
Okay, that's decades later. And by that time I had learned things like, if you want to create something, there is a way to create something, like moving to, say, Hawaii, or doing whatever it is that is yours to do, even though the circumstances behind you, around you, and that you see are like, that's impossible, because
Mhm.
nothing is impossible. So I had learned all of that and made it to, a different point in life. And then there started the later series of a succession of near death or near death like experiences, which culminated in one near death experience and then the shared death experience. The near death experience, again, I got really, really sick. And this was in beginning of September 2019. The timing on this is kind of critical. And I got really, I'd been at a meeting, and I was the one who was supposed to be kind of the guest speaker at this meeting. And someone gave me a soda can, or a juice can, whatever you want to call it. And I couldn't pull up the pop top of it. I'm like, this is really weird. I can't pull it. So my friend pulled it for me, and all was well. And then I tasted the drink, and I'm like, ooh, this tastes kind of funny. Something's off about this. And then, but I didn't think about it. I mean, you just keep going and you do what you're doing. And I also felt kind of like I was coming down with something. And I'm like, well, you just don't, you just do what you need to do. You keep going. You don't stop for these things. And so I did it. And I got through the meeting and I went home. And the next day I come down with a really high fever. And in this particular event, during the 2 or 3 days when I had a super high fever, again, this is September. This is the hottest time of the year here in Hawaii. I had,
Right.
I mean, it's everyone else is like, it's so hot, it's so hot, it's so hot. I had every cover, every blanket, every piece of clothing on top of me, and I was still shivering.
Mm.
And there came a point in time when I wasn't there. I don't know where I was, and I don't know how I got there, but I wasn't there. I was in this place, and it was very indistinct. I guess you could call it foggy, but it was very indistinct. And everything was kind of a brown, pink, orange, kind of grayish color, but warm, and that same loving feeling. And I'm just enjoying it and enjoying it. And there's a whole bunch of other beings which I can't see because it's very indistinct, but I can hear them. And there's a lot of them. And they're chanting at me, "You have done what you came here to do," over and over. And I'm like, oh, that's nice. Oh, that's nice. What? And as soon as I realized what it was they were saying, no, back in the body again. And the fever broke. Now, the medical people around me will now say that that might have been early COVID. It doesn't matter what it was. What mattered was, I have done what I came here to do. If I have done what I came here to do, why am I still here?
Right.
And so I started pouring myself into, if I am going to be gone, and it might be sudden, maybe I better prepare everything ahead of time. So I prepared all my documents. I prepared all of my passwords and codes and everything. I prepared everything to make it easier for whoever might be there behind me. But I also prepared myself for that possibility. And my first really important teacher for this change, and this was the true beginning of my spiritual journey, was
Mm.
Ram Dass.
Wow. Okay.
And yeah, and I poured through everything I could find of his, and that was the beginning of that transition. And then, just to put a side note on this, that was just a little bit before Ram Dass left his form, when he dropped his body. And I was still studying, and I understood from what he was talking about so much, that that we don't ever die. There is no such thing as death,
Hmm.
but we do leave form. And when we do leave form, what we go to is the complete unity and the complete love, and we become more than we ever were, and we become part of the everything that is everywhere. And I understood that from him. So we come to about December of 2020, and no, I guess it was December 2019. And he passed on December 23rd.
Right.
Okay, December 25th, I'm sitting on the couch because I'm still not moving very much. And off to the side of the carport, where there is nothing but trees, I mean, just overgrowth and trees on the other side of our lot. And there's like no paths, there's no road, there's nothing. And I see someone walking by there. At first, I'm like, oh, somebody's walking by. Wait a minute, what? There's nothing there. They can't walk there. And then I looked at who it was again. He kind of turned his head at me a little bit, but then he walked right on by. Ram Dass was visiting me, because he knew that when he had left form, I was celebrating with him that he had left form and was now free of all of these earthly constraints.
Right.
And so I managed to get up the strength, and I walked outside, and there on the path under the guava tree in December, this is way off season, are
Okay.
4 perfectly sized, perfectly round, perfectly ripe guavas on the ground in the shape of a diamond.
Okay.
He left me a gift. Okay. And I knew I was on the right path. I knew I was where I needed to be. I knew what I was doing now, studying and learning all of this was where I needed to be. So we'll fast forward a little bit further now, and this is now 2020, the summer of 2020. And I'm helping people, guiding people to the best of my ability, and it's working, but I know that I'm not at my potential. I know there's something that's still holding me back, keeping me from doing what I need to do. And I realized that it is this relationship with my mother, who at this point in time had been in prison for close to 15 years, or about 15 years anyway, and for the murder of my former sister-in-law. And so I hadn't seen her, hadn't heard from her, hadn't had any contact, nothing at all. In fact, the authorities had one contact, and that was my brother, who was the now former spouse of the person who had been killed.
Right.
But I hadn't been talking to him much either. I mean, we were starting to talk a little bit, but not that much. And I'm thinking, okay, what do I need to do to get this healed inside of me? And a friend of mine who had a similar past to mine said she had found a way to realize that her parents had done what they did to her to give her the foundation to be who she needed to be later on. And I'm like, oh, that's really great for you. That's not me. So I went on a little bit, and I'm still not finding the answers. And so finally I said to nothing, everything, or whatever you would like to call it, how can I heal this? And instantly I found myself in a scene where I'm in a theater. The theater is completely dark. There's nobody in it except me. I'm sitting in the middle seat of the theater on the front row, and I'm the only one there. And I'm like, hmm. And then the director comes on stage, and the director is me. And then I look back, and look up there, the producer is also me. And look, the writer next to me is me. And the actor, oh, that's me too. I'm everything. And then as this play went on in front of me, I realized that this was all my life, and that everything that happened in it, I had put in it. And that everyone, including my mother, who was in this play, had agreed to their role in it so that I could have the foundation I needed to be who I am and to do what I do. And from that, I realized not only that my mother had loved me enough to be able to do that to me so that I could do what I do now, but also that as the writer, I can change the script at any time.
Wow.
And so that was the beginning of the near-death experience, or the shared death experience. Fast forward just a couple of months, and it's now December, the middle of December. And from the time of that experience where I was at the stage, I was just in complete bliss, complete love, and everything was going splendidly until this one day in mid-December when I woke up and I was just in angst, and I was just I was physically jittery, and I was just like, what is going on here? And I tried everything. I tried tea, meditation. I tried every method that I had out there. Nothing touched it. And then on the third day, I woke up and it broke and it was in complete bliss and freedom. Oh, the freedom. Oh, it was lovely and wonderful and so much love. And I'm like, I don't know what's happening here, but whatever it is, I'm good with it now. And then a little bit later, a few hours later, my brother calls me and he says, I have to tell you, our mother passed this morning. And I told him what I had been experiencing. And I knew, though I hadn't a term for it because I'd never heard of it, I knew that I had shared her experience of leaving form. And that the freedom and the love and the bliss that I was feeling was what she was now feeling. And we now have a better relationship than we ever had when she was in form.
Wow. Unbelievable. How has this changed your life? How have these experiences like changed the course of your life in terms of how you choose to live it?
I'm a completely different person than I was before. Completely different. I have a very strong, intimate relationship with whatever you would like to call it, the beyond, the creative force, the source, energy, whatever you want to call it. I have a very intimate relationship with that now. I also don't, I don't meditate like in a pretzel position, but I'm in a meditative state almost constantly. And I can now really guide the people who come to me to get past whatever their particular version of trauma or difficulty is, to be able to move to the life that they have beyond waiting for them from this. That's trauma is a teacher.
Yeah, tell us a little bit more about this. What do you, how do you work with people? What category of people do you work with? What do you do? Share with us.
My favorite group to work with are the younger generations who are probably between 20 and 35, but I can work with just about anyone. But I love those people because they're the ones that are going to change this world into what it can be. And it's the beautiful picture that I have seen that it can be and will be. And if I can help them get there, maybe even a little faster, what a pleasure, what an honor it is. But like I said, I work with anyone who has some form of, and who doesn't have trauma? We all have trauma of some sort.
We all have trauma. Yes, we do. Absolutely.
The word has a lot of connotations to it, but everyone, I mean, we're here to experience. And experience doesn't necessarily mean everything is wonderful and joyful, although it could. And I think it will in the future. But right now, we're here to experience. And I get to help people experience better, to move beyond the limiting beliefs that they have had that have been pushed on them for so long, to move them from their I hate to say the word because it's so triggering, the slavery they've been found themselves in, to freedom, true freedom. And how does it get any better than that?
Right.
I mean, and I will do it in whatever way or fashion I can find. I have a YouTube channel called Human Conversations. I do one-on-ones. I will do group work. I can do, you know, like presentations and conferences and such. Whatever I am called to do this. And by the way, as a support for this, I have been given the ability or the honor of channeling a group of beings that call themselves the wisdom keepers of lost civilizations. And they help me a lot. They're always there. They're here now. They're coming through me. They're telling me what to say and what not to say, or at least guiding what I say. Um, but that also is something that I use to guide people. It's just it to me. It's another form of who I am, what I am, and another connection to the all that is.
Lay, I would love to invite you to channel if you felt inclined to, and do share your gift with
You
us.
would have to ask me questions, and that's all there is to it. Is you ask me questions and the answers will come out. And it sounds, when it's them, my voice doesn't actually change, but the words that they use may not be the words that I would normally use.
So I can ask you a couple of questions, and then we can take it as far as you want to, or not.
Sure.
So my first question would be that many of us are feeling like there is a point in time in this earth when we're going to all wake up. Will we wake up? Will we wake up as a conscious world?
Dear one, you already are. There are so many of you who are already awake. You don't see them as much as you see the others because the others are so loud, so noisy. But they're all there. You're all there. And you're all together in this web of life. And it's all there. And yes, the picture you see will be.
So we feel like there is going to be a huge paradigm shift in the future. Will that paradigm shift come, and how will it come? Will it be based on trauma that we've experienced, natural disaster? Will it be just a point in time when we wake up? So many people try to predict or anticipate what's going to happen.
It's already here. And it's not going to happen overnight. As you see what you call disasters in your world happening all around you, these are events that are there to help people see and come to a new way of living. It's not something that is going to just happen, but the energy is already there. Your earth, your planet already has the energy. And that's what you feel when you feel all these ups and downs and the body changing and everything around you and the world going what you say is faster. This is the paradigm shift. And the reason the others that are still trying very hard to stay in their boxes, the reason they're doing that is because they see their foundation is now made of sand, which they didn't realize before. And as that sand shifts and moves, and they don't have a foundation to hold them up, it's very frightening for them. And they are trying very hard to recreate what they saw as stability, which really was never there. But they are trying so hard to recreate it when it isn't even real. And so that's why they are fighting so hard. But even among them, there are so many that are still waking up, and waking up more so all the time, and seeing how the old way is not sustainable, never was sustainable, and how it doesn't serve the people.
Dear ones, we have this beautiful light worker before her. Her name is Lei Mohr. Why would you take her so many times and then have her come back?
so that she could learn to be who she was. She doubted. She doubted a lot. She had been told for so long, not just one lifetime, but so many, that she was not worthwhile, that she was small, that her best option was to try and stay small and stay in the boxes. And she believed it. She remembered being hurt trying whenever she tried to step out. And so we had to give her many opportunities to do this. And she had given, before being brought into form, she had made many choices with us to actually go through all of these events so she could have this deep foundation that she now has to be able to help others, and the compassion and love to be able to use to bring to them so that they could see a different way of life.
Dear one, Lei and I met, and we instantly had a heart connection. Why did she choose me? Because I felt like she did.
You all choose each other based on past experiences that you may or may not remember. You two have known each other for many, many lifetimes, and throughout. Your meeting is not coincidence. In fact, there is no such thing as coincidence. You came together because it was the right place, the right time for two sisters to meet.
How beautiful. And I am grateful for this meeting. Is there anything that you would like to tell the collective as we are here present with our listening ears?
Yes. Understand the amazing opportunity you are in right now as you are changing your world from the old way to the new way. And keep in mind your picture, your bigger picture of what the new way will be like and look like. And remember, you are never alone. We, all of us, the multitude of us, are here to support you and guide you through this. Yes, you will make it through this as a race. Not all of you. I mean, you will come, you will go. And some of you will come back again. But humanity will make it through this.
With love and gratitude, we thank you. We thank you so much.
We thank you and we honor you. Okay. Whoa. That was powerful.
That was powerful. Thank you, Lei. Thank you so much.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
you. We honor you. We honor the work that you do, honor what you share, your wisdom, and that you're here.
And thank you for this opportunity.
Of course, of course. We are here for light workers. That's where spirituality and humanity meet, right?
Sisters.
Sisters. So, my dear sister, please leave a message with everyone. What would you like your audience to know, and how can they reach you? Please
Okay.
leave them with a wisdom tip and how they can reach you and how they can connect with you.
The wisdom tip is know that you are here for a reason. Know that there is no death and that you will be able to live this life to its fullest if you choose, that it's all in your choice. And that when you realize you're not going to die, you realize how fully you can live. And that's what I want to give everybody is live to your fullest and find whatever it is your passion and live it. No matter who says what to you, no matter what you think, let go of all those limiting beliefs, which I call LBS, limiting belief systems, which in the American system is pounds, which weigh you down. And let go of all of the belief systems, which is BS. And live to your fullest potential. Yes, you can. And you can get a hold of me through my website, which is handletheshift.com. You can find me at my YouTube channel, which is Human Conversations. You can find me on Facebook and other normal outlets, LinkedIn, what have you. I'm pretty much out there. If you look up my name, you can find me now.
Lei, I want to tell you it was an honor. Thank you so much. Thank you for giving of yourself. Thank you again for being here on The Infinite Way, where spirituality meets humanity.
And thank you, Anolia, for all you do.
Thank you. So this has been another episode of The Infinite Way, where spirituality meets humanity. If you like what you saw, please like us and please subscribe. And please do share these podcasts. Let other people know. You will be helping someone who has gone through an NDE, who has gone through trauma, and they connect with our guests. They connect with me, and you never know, you might be changing someone's life. So thank you again, and we will see you on the next episode. Take care and bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.